Everyone hear me okay? I'm usually too short for these, but... All right, I have a question for everyone. By show of hands, how many of us store money in some sort of a bank account, credit union account, money with a financial institution of any kind? Any amount of money. Okay, no surprise, it's pretty much all of us. I have some bad news for us, though. Let's see if this is working here, sorry. That money does not belong to us. Actually, I skipped the video, sorry, hold on. There we go.
So, you finally bought crypto. What do you do with it?
They're all kind of asking the same question. What can I actually do with it?
Greenwald, CEO of the fintech platform Ionia, says one of the main hesitations people have getting into crypto is that they don't think they can actually use their crypto for anything. Maybe it's because the media is filled with people saying this.
Cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, have no value at all, that actually don't have any real utility.
Or it could be because crypto advocates themselves often tell people not to actually use their crypto for purchases.
It is an interesting mentality to look at where people are like, yeah, you gotta hold it, never spend it. I'm like, what's the good of money that you never spend? That's not money anymore.
But can you actually spend your crypto easily? Having the ability to control your own money and move in and out of different currencies via decentralized exchanges with no middleman is empowering.
Do you see a future where everyone's going to be using crypto in their day-to-day life and it's just going to become ubiquitous and normalized?
We can all hope for good things.
So obviously we're going to talk about how crypto can fix some of these problems today. Over the next 25 minutes or so, we're going to challenge our own preconceptions about what money is and what it means to actually have or own that money. I believe that we actually own our money a lot less than we've been led to believe. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what it means to own money. But first, let me give you an example of what really opened my eyes to the problems that we have with our current monetary system. In early 2020, during the lockdowns, a young man that grew up in a group home was still living there as an adult. As long as you have a full-time job, they allow you to stay there for free. Because of the lockdowns, the fast food restaurant where he was working had layoffs, and he was an unfortunate casualty of those layoffs. But that didn't just mean losing his income source, it actually meant losing his home. And I don't mean losing his home months from now, weeks from now. He went home, told the home group administrator that he lost his job, and they handed him 3 grocery bags, or garbage bags rather, of his belongings and said, good luck to you. He was a young man that didn't have a family, didn't have support systems, and didn't have a source of income or a place to live. Fortunately, we came into contact with this young man through my son, who had mutual friends. So he came to stay with us for a time. During those couple of months, we helped him get his birth certificate, his driver's license, all of the information he needed to be able to go be successful on his own. We helped him get a job through a good friend of ours. But he needed a way to get to and from work. So we spent some time looking at cars, and one weekend I said, okay, we found a car we like, let's go make the purchase. So we went to the ATM to take out the cash. We needed about just under $3,000 to buy him this really reliable Toyota that had like 40,000 miles on it. So we went to the ATM, and lo and behold, I could only take out $500. And I said, uh-oh, how are we going to make this purchase today? So I called my wife, and she met us at the ATM, and she took out her max, which was also $500. So obviously we came up pretty short. We had the funds in the bank. We thought we'd be able to help this young man get his vehicle and start his job on Monday. The bank is closed, and we had no way to access our funds. So Monday morning, we went into the bank and said, hey, we need to raise our limits. And they said, well, how much would you like it to have as your limit? I said, well, how about all of the money that we have here? Wouldn't that be a good starting point? And they said, we can't do that. It's for your protection. And I said, I don't want your protection. I want my money. They said, we can't do that. So after a lot of back and forth, literally 3 phone calls to their corporate office, different departments, they raised our limit to $3,000. I said, okay, at least for now, that'll get us for next weekend when we find another vehicle. Of course, that one had already sold to somebody else. When we find this other vehicle, we can pull out the funds on Saturday and go make this purchase. So restart the clock Saturday morning. We go out, we find a vehicle, we go to the ATM, and what do you think my limit was? $500, exactly. I went, what in the world is going on? This is really getting frustrating. And now this young man needed a car right away. His job was starting that Monday. We had already pushed it back 1 week. And I said, okay, we've got to figure out some way to do this. So we ended up finding a vehicle that was much less that we could afford. Just for future reference, that vehicle lasted about 2 weeks before it broke down completely. You know, when you're paying $1,000 for a vehicle, that's about what you're getting for it. So we went back to the bank again and said, why is this limit still at $500? And they said, oh, we can only raise your limit for 1 day at a time. And while you might not have had the same experience, I would bet that all of us have had some experience that exposes some of these problems to us. By show of hands, who's been charged to access their money? ATM, credit card, debit card, anything? Most of us, right? What about to move or send money, wire fees, ACH fees, anything like that? What about been limited at how much you can withdraw at an ATM or in branch, or been told that it's going to take some time for you to do that? Yeah, all of us. And yet we continue to enter into contracts with these financial institutions to be stewards over our money. And I think the problem with that is that it isn't our money once we enter in that contract. So the banking experience, just to recap, charges us fees. We're basically buying our own money back. They limit when we can get it, how much we can get, and how we can get it. They monitor it for our protection, but ultimately it's for their protection. They've lent our money to other people, and that's our money in our mind, but if you look at their balance sheet, it's on their balance sheet as well, isn't it? So what does it mean to own something? In the law, there's a set of principles that govern ownership, and they entail certain rights to the possession. So the very first is the right to possession, the right to have that which you own. It's a very basic principle of ownership that we all understand inherently. But with the banks, they can deny us that possession, as they did in our case, and as most of us raise our hands, has happened to us at some point in time. By entering these contracts with the financial institutions, we have waived our right to have possession of our money, and we've now asked for the privilege for a fee to access the money at the bank's whim. The second right is the right to use and enjoy it. And of course, that's being denied to us by fraud departments when you try to swipe your debit card, by ATM access limits, many ways that the bank will restrict our use of our funds, and we actually need their permission to use it. Quick little example, I tried to buy cryptocurrency through multiple different places using my debit card, and not only was it denied, it never even showed up as a pending transaction on my bank records. I couldn't even call and reference a transaction when calling the bank about the problem. They just block it wholesale before it even gets anywhere. And then there's another one, and there's more to ownership than this, but these are the key three in my mind, and that's the right to privacy. And I want you to think about this for a minute. If you transact with cash during this event, if you say, hey, you know, let's make a deal, I hand you cash, whether that's with a vendor here or whatever, that's a completely private transaction between two parties. As soon as the bank is interjected as the custodian of our funds, the bank has every detail of every transaction that happens digitally through them. Furthermore, as I mentioned earlier, the bank can lend that money. In fact, they can lend something like 10 times the amount of money you put in there, but the fractional reserve banking system is a whole nother absurdity we won't have time to get into today. So we don't own the money once we deposit it in the bank. And if you look at the costs associated with having a bank account, they are rising. There are some decreases in fees in some areas, but overall the trend has been year over year for decades that it increases. The average person will spend about $329 a year in bank fees, and that may not be a lot to everybody, but to the younger generations, those who are in between employment, other things going on in their lives, that can be completely burdensome, and they can become completely unable to maintain funds at the bank. So as was painfully obvious, when I was trying to help this young man get his feet on the ground, the bank policies and the lack of ownership that I had of my money had a huge impact on us. We were trying to do good, trying to help somebody, and the bank said, no, you're not going to be able to do that today. But even in our day-to-day lives, these fees, inflation, NSF charges, ATM fees, all of these things cut into our hard-earned money, and they have a long-term impact. But to be very clear, I don't think we have a banking problem. We have a monetary system problem. Let me explain that for a moment. The banks are a part of the fiat monetary system that is fundamentally broken. The banks are only one actor, and you can switch bank to bank to bank. This isn't like a, this bank is better than this bank issue. It's not that I just picked poor banks as examples here. It's just the system that we live in today with the fiat that we're using. And you can see on the screen here, and you probably guessed, I'm going to go full crypto geek on you here in a moment. Talk about the high ordeals of what crypto can bring to us, the global vision of cryptocurrency. And you aren't wrong. However, there is a nuance. It isn't just a vision. Here in 2022, you can reduce your dependency on the banking systems and on the fiat monetary system. You can do that conveniently, and you can do it securely, and claim your own ownership of your own funds again. So after this incident, I started to put more of my funds into cryptocurrency, and I started to live more on it. But I saw some major problems, and while there were a lot of cryptocurrencies on the market that were very attractive for a number of technical reasons or financial reasons, there were some problems. In particular, spending the crypto is very difficult. Finding a merchant who takes Bitcoin today even is difficult, and certainly several years ago was even more rare, although it is increasing. The second issue is that any of the services that existed that would allow you to put funds onto a credit card or debit card were basically a bank. They took my money, they held my money in their accounts, and if something went wrong, I had no recourse. I had to call their customer service and ask them to give my money back. If they declined a transaction, I'd have to call them and wait on hold and try to get them to understand why this is an absurd situation that I have money in crypto, but they're blocking my transactions. This is counter to the entire purpose of being here in the crypto world. So at that point, I decided that I was done giving up my rights over my money, and I was going to take them back. I was going to own my own money, and I was going to be able to have privacy. I was not going to have to ask permission to send my money where I want to send it, and that I was going to be able to possess it myself, not give it to somebody else. And you work hard to earn money, right? And you shouldn't have to choose between security and convenience. You should be able to have both. And crypto is, in my mind, the long-term solution to how we can have these things, how we can truly own our own money again. It is money, and it's supposed to be used both for storage and exchange, although I think a lot, by show of hands, how many hold some sort of crypto if they're open to sharing that? It's most of us. And how many of us have used crypto in the last 30 days for a purchase? Very few of us, right? Here's the thing, cryptocurrency was not created to be a speculative investment. Think about that for a minute. Is it today? Yes, I agree it is. And I'm guilty of speculating here and there, okay? And I've done okay sometimes and terrible others. But cryptocurrency is intended to be a currency, thus the name. The original Satoshi white paper was not written about how people can make money, more fiat money, by speculating on Bitcoin. It was about how to send peer-to-peer cash from one user to another in a permissionless, private environment. The solutions for this do exist today. And I do believe that you're doing yourself a disservice if you stay entirely in the fiat system. I'm not saying you have to all go full into crypto and live off of it 100% today, okay? But I do believe that you're doing yourself a disservice if you do not use cryptocurrency for both a store of value and a means of exchange, and start doing it more and more. When I first started this journey, it was maybe 10%, and then it was 20, now it's close to 80. Okay, date night last night here in Vegas, we used cryptocurrency at Otoro here in this actual hotel. So great experience. Everyone loves seeing that you just paid with crypto as well, by the way. So your servers, your cashiers, they're going to geek out about it. It's really cool. So it's a fun experience anyway. But blockchain technology, which is the backbone of crypto, can provide us privacy that we talked about that's missing, the permissionless environment, and possession without interference. And these are core to ownership, as I mentioned earlier. So if you want to own your own money, blockchain has the promise to bring that to you today. There are companies today that are making it easy for you to get started in crypto. Companies like Cake, Edge, CoinFlip. They allow you to do it in a permissionless private environment. So you can maintain your privacy, own cryptocurrency. You don't have to wait for your bank to approve those transactions. Then you need to hold the funds. You need to do it in a way that you own the funds. You are the possessor of the keys, which just means you own the money. You have the money in your possession. Edge, Dash, Cake, Ledger, those are all examples of companies today where you can hold your funds. It's totally decentralized, meaning you're not waiting on some company to give you access to your money. It's yours, you have access. And then you need to be able to spend it. This is a little bit trickier, but there are companies who accept Bitcoin or Dash or other currencies, and you can look for those. We believe long-term that's the ideal, that being able to spend money directly from you to a merchant or you to another person individually will become commonplace, that most places will eventually accept cryptocurrencies through one form or another. But there are solutions today where you can spend crypto. Shameless plug here, our company is powering the technology behind many of these, but Edge, Kinesis, Ledger, Cake, and Dash are great examples of where you'll be able to this year spend your cryptocurrency and maintain your privacy and your possession of your own money. So I would encourage you to take back ownership of your own money and start to use cryptocurrency today. If you are having trouble getting started, there's a team down here at this table that can help get you started using cryptocurrency. For those of you who are interested in trying it here, we'll even show you where you can spend it, which is basically every single place in Las Vegas today. So make it really easy on you. It's about 11 million merchants in the US. At Ionia, which is the name of our company, our vision is to bring permissionless and private crypto payments to the world. So please help us in joining billions of people be able to look at their money on their phone and say, Ionia. Thank you.